All right, guys, welcome in to another episode of Hoops and Football. Doing probably just a short live one. I'll try to. I always seem to go on a bit longer than I meant to, but now the draft is coming up. I thought I'd ask a question to the fans. I think I did it about 3-4 days ago out on Twitter. I just reached out and said to anybody to give me your best 23. As we all know now, the teams are now 23 with no more sub rules, so there will be now 5 on the bench. I've done this as a before draft version. So just in case we decide to draft somebody that might slide straight into the team. It's highly unlikely, but you never know. So I thought we'll do it before and we'll do it after, and we'll see what people who change their mind and where they try to put. So I've got 3 peoples from Twitter on, and we'll just go through it. We'll see if they're quite similar. From what I remember doing when I was doing off my graphs, some of them were quite similar, but some spots were slightly different, as well as maybe some on the wing that most people probably won't agree with, just because we saw it before and this year was a little bit different. But I'll try. I won't pronounce the names on here because my grammar is not the best, and I'll probably get it wrong. So if yours is on there, just leave a comment. Comment there, and why don't you got yours on the thing? So we'll start with this one. Hang on, I'll just remove my banner so that you guys can actually see the whole thing clearly. All right, so it starts off on the halfback with Broad, Miller, Nick Flostone, Banks, Bolter, and Trainer. I like the idea of it's quite a stable backline if you think about it. Nick Flostone is always there. Broad, Miller, probably the strongest part of our game or our team is our backline. So I like that we've kept the Flostone and Miller and Broad. Miller was great this year. Definitely stepped up his game and getting better every year. Banks was another one. So I'm hoping with Banks still being in the halfback, not changing his position. I know some people suggested, does he go to a wing to allow Gibkis to go back there? But I like Banks off the halfback. Hopefully, maybe we can get another repeat of this year into 2026, and maybe he'll get even better. He might even join the leadership group as well because he is quite well known in the club as being a very good leader. Then Bolter, Luke Trainer. I love the Luke Trainer finally going back. Have never been a big fan of. Oh, hope you guys can hear me. Actually, I have my mic next to me. Yeah, Seb, I just saw your comment. I do agree with that, but we'll get to that when we get around. So yeah, Luke Trainer back to the back line. I don't like him on the wing. I just think it stumps a bit of what he is really good for, with his ability to mark, his kicking ability. I think it stumps him the way he plays his game, and I think it's why we saw a bit of a dip in his near the end of the season where he was playing more wing. And I get why they did it. It was a necessity. You just needed to have somebody on the wing, and you had enough defenders to play in the back line. But with Young being gone, I think there's a real opportunity where Trainer might be able to cement his spot in that back line, unless Gibkis comes in and takes over as Luke Trainer. And then who knows, maybe Luke Trainer doesn't even make the best 23. But in this team, he's in there. We'll go across the center now. So it starts off with, we'll go with Jack Ross. Now, I know a lot of people probably will say that they don't like Jack Ross on the wing. Look, and that might change coming into the draft. Maybe we'll draft somebody who can play a wing. I know we got Rechko, I believe that's how you pronounce it. If he proves himself during the preseason, there's a high chance maybe that he does get on there. But I get the idea of why on this team you're having Ross, because you've got to have him in there in the team. He's very experienced. And maybe that sort of wing, and he plays in that wing, can just be a bit of a tagging role for him. So Hopper in the center, which is probably something we all expect just to happen frequently. He's more of a leader now, and he's going to have to help the players like Lawler, Smiley, maybe a Roby if we do draft him. Obviously, we don't know yet, but that will definitely be something will come along as well. Maybe Smiley could break into the team as well. Then Ralph Smith is another one on the wing. Obviously, we would like to see him have a better season. This year wasn't the best. Not offensively,
more defensively with Ralph Smith on the wing. I just think that needs to get a bit better. Harry Armstrong. Oh, sorry, we got half forward. I've just jumped by the whole line. Campbell, another great season. You can definitely see him being there, and maybe even swapping with somebody to go into the forward line. Probably the same as Fall. I don't see Fall losing his spot unless somebody in the preseason shows it better. Houghton, I like Houghton being on there. Also, probably a chance to switch into the midfield. I think they need to give him that. He showed it last year with his clearance, considering I think in the last 5 games he had nearly more clearances than Taranto, Hopper, and Prestia did. And they've, 20 plus more entries in centre half bounce attendances than he did. The forward line will be Harry Armstrong, Tom Lynch, Ryan Mansell. I get the Mansell one. Small forward, kicks goals really well. Tom Lynch. The question I'll have for you guys as the fan base, do we think that Tom Lynch will play every game this year, or is there a chance where we try to do the whole you only play home games and you just rest him for interstate? Or do you limit to him to, say, 16 games and no more than that? Look, I do feel like there's a chance. It just really would depend on who you get. With the Prestia one, I think there's a chance where it's just going to be more they will rest him for his age and then just have him there as a coach. Training will be hard, but the hard part is going off the information we get and most of the mock drafts we see, Richmond, unless they are drafting Xavier Taylor, who was just on the Big Tiger Footy Cast, I don't see any of the boys taking his spot. Look, and Sam Grill, if we were to take Sam Grill like Dylan Alexander had done, I'm not sure if he would take his spot, just because they're different players, where Grill's that speed player, uses his speed, agility, and he knows that he can outrun players. So he's got a bit more dare on himself, that he's willing to take on the player. Where Luke Train is that interceptor, really good overhead mark, and his IQ is quite high to see when he's looking forward. He has the high IQ to know when to kick the ball and take those risky kicks. They're different players. So I do agree if a Roby comes in, Dyson Sharp. So even Sam Cumming, I'm big on Sam Cumming coming in. If they are to come in and then the preseason shows really well, maybe that's something a way you can bleed the young guys, is when Prestia is not playing the home games, he's being rested, and boys travel away with the team and get the whole idea of what it's like to travel away and play. So there's a high chance, and look, knock on wood and touch wood as well, that this is also going off the fact that your Prestia is going to be 100% be able to play every single game. So injuries will come in and all that sort of stuff as well. Look, and I do agree, I'd like to force it into some more games. I think when he played the game against Port, he didn't do much wrong. It was just that Lynch came back in. So, well, that's the question we'll have to ask, and that's McKelty. Lafau has to get in, and he hasn't been named in any of these teams. But does Lynch need to be rested for 16 games and rested for the rest? And is that where you bring in a Sims, Lafau, or a Fawcett as well, and put Fawcett in there as well, and maybe get him to be the next, as we used to say, the next linchpin, because we're going to have another experienced forward, and McKelty will probably be our next one to have if Lynch doesn't stay for another year. So back to the team was, then Harry Armstrong, which is another good season. I can understand. Only question I have is that too tall. Does Richmond need to play 3 tall forwards? I'm not sure that model quite 100% works, but it can't hurt to actually try. And I think maybe it's just getting experience into them. The followers are Nankervis, Timmy Taranto, which is quite standard. We knew that. And I love that they've thrown Sam Lawler straight into the middle. I think this year, this is a good year for them to work out. Is Sam Lawler, what's his game percentage going to be? Is he going to be 50% of forward, 50% of a midfield, or is he 60-40, and which way does it go? And this year, I think, would be a good year, as long as he gets his body right, good to go. Then to the bench is Prestia, Brown, Rioli, Gibcus, and Short, which is good because you have a lot of defense there, and I will say, but the good thing is with the players of a Brown, Gibcus, and Short all can go forward if you need to. And I honestly wouldn't be against a Short playing on a wing. So look, this is just team one, and look, this will all change as time goes with the draftees and injuries as well. So when we do the next team later on after the draft, we can review it and see what they're like. So we'll move on to the next team. So this one was sent as well. So the backline's pretty similar. Instead of being Bolter and Trainer, it's been swapped with Gibcus and Brown. And I definitely do like that. I just don't know. I'm a bit worried about Gibcus is my big concern. And Brown, I like Brown being there. He showed this year that he was really good. And as you can see, the wing has changed as well. Luke Trainer's back on the wing, and Jack Ross. Probably most fans aren't a fan of probably Ross and Trainer being on the wing. Not actually quite surprising, Hugo Ralph-Smith. Some people, I think, might be quite off him after this year's performance defensively. So then going to half forward, it's Smiley, Fall, and Houghton. So Houghton and Fall the same, but they brought Smiley in. Does everybody actually see Smiley being able to play half forward? I know that he did in his juniors. He played half back and then mid. I'm just not sure if he has the ability to go forward. So does he need to be a player? Is he like a one-dimensional player where he's just predominantly a big body forward? And if that is so, do we need to start him on the bench more than anything else? Then full forwards are Mansell, Lynch, Campbell. Generally all pretty the same. And then the followers are the same as the last team. So it's just Nankervis, Taranto, and Hopper. I do have quick questions about that in general for everybody. Are we concerned that the forward so those midfield, besides adding Lawler, is it too one dimension? There's not enough speed. Is that where the draft comes into play, or is that where we need to take the approach of that Hopper and Taranto will need to spend 40% of their game time forward to A, put in some senior experience into the forward line, and then B, allow the younger forwards who are midfielders to go into the midfield and get some more time under their belt, because Taranto, Hopper will be around for a while, but Prestia won't be, so you need to get some of these guys up to speed faster and sooner. And we know that Hopper and Taranto both can play forward because they did it really well when they did it for the Giants in the 2019 Grand Final. Yeah, man, I do agree the wings aren't the strongest. So the only other options right now you have for the wings would be Rechko, in my opinion, and Hugo Ralph-Smith. But could Grill, if you were to draft, say, a Sam Grill, I've got to say his name right because it's not Grillage, it's Grill. And Sullivan Roby. Look, Sullivan Roby probably has the possibility he could play wing. And Lewis Callaway was the other one I thought more than likely we'll get him probably pretty much for free. Look, our next pick after the first pick 3 and 4 is pick 38. I definitely don't see anyone betting on Lewis Callaway that early. So I definitely think there's a possibility where he slides to after the 50. That's just a free pick. So you just take him after that. Whenever someone tries to take him, you can match it. There's no points required. I think Callaway could definitely play it, and then it's just between Hugo Ralph-Smith, Rechko, and really maybe Callaway and Grill. Maybe you use Grill as that wing because he does have a high speed. If you guys have actually jump onto the combine and actually look at some of the stats, Sam Grill I think he got in the top under 6 minutes in the 2K, and he was quite high in the other ratings for speed, the 20-meter sprints and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I do know. Yeah, Harley Barker is the best swing in the draft. Unfortunately, he's done an ACL. But the problem is because he's so good on the wing, as you are saying, I doubt we're going to see him at our pick 38, which will probably slide forward because you'll lose. Carlton will lose a couple of picks, I believe. Brisbane won't, but Gold Coast will probably lose most of their picks when they have to bid for their 2 academy players in the top 5. So the only other one I could think of to get instead of Harley Barker is Matt Leray, which was Harley Barker's teammate on the other side. Look, he could definitely be there at our pick 38, which could go down to pick 34. Possibility of getting him, not as good as Barker. Look, yeah, you could if we wanted to. We could split our pick 4, and I'm assuming your main pick 4 is because your first pick is Sullivan Roby. I'm not against splitting the pick. The question is, how far down the draft are you willing to slide to? So I originally had a one. Would you give up Sullivan Roby, which is pick 3, to Melbourne, who Melbourne have been tracking him for a long time? So you can have pick 7 and 8, and then maybe they'll work their magic around to add other picks, stuff to help them sort of smooth the deal over. I'm not against splitting picks as long as you can. At pick 4, I'd be happy to get it if you can get a pick in the team, so you can still get Grill and a possibility of getting a Cumming and maybe even going after a Harley Barker or Hibbins Hargrave or a Lockie Doveston. So does open it up. I'm just not sure if the deal is going to be blown away because that's the report that came out from Blair. Blair had said that, look, they're happy to take the phone calls, but the deal has to blow their socks off. And if they don't, they're not going to take it. They're just going to pick the player they can and go from there. So the bench is pretty much similar to the other one. It's Armstrong, Short, Bolter, Presti, and Rioli. So look, I like the teams. They're all quite very similar. So we'll go to the next one and we'll just go over that as well. I'll make sure nothing's changed. Look, and this will change again, as I've said. The next one over here was Nick Firestone, Brandon Miller, Broad, Banks, Bolter, Short. So it's just looking like more likely that the back line is only adjusting by 2 players. It looks like Voloston, I just said it wrong, and I should know that by now. Miller, Broad, Banks have all 4 been a consistent backman, and it just really varies between the other 2. But then your interchange just has those players anyway. So then they've actually put Brown on the wing, and I really actually don't hate that, just because he actually is quite a good runner, and you do kind of want to get that his kicking skills up the ground more, because really, if you think about it, Banks isn't the greatest kicked, but he has the penetrating run to get you from the half back to the wing/forward area. Bolter has the big boot, so does Jade Short. And in that wing, we really do lack the kicking skill, which that wing is the connector between the back line and the forward line to help along with the mids. And I'm definitely I really am all for a player that has an elite kick on the wing. So, which is what makes Harley Barker what you really would love to get in. So what do you say there? Splitting both picks 3 to Essendon for 3-4. Yeah. I'm just not sure that I would love that. That sounds like a great scenario. If any club would probably say yes to that, just because of the fact of you would get 4 picks in the top. But more than likely, if you were to split that, there's more than likely a chance where Richmond would ask for future assets for next year's draft in the 2026 draft. Only because next year Richmond have 2 father and sons, and I believe it's 2 academy players coming in. And 1 academy player already is quite Armstrong is in the top 15 already. And he was playing as a bottom manger this year and was doing really well. So, look, in that scenario, that would be great. I would love to have pretty much 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yes, you would probably miss out on a Roby. Cooper Duff Tyler would definitely be gone. But then you'd go Xavier Taylor. Then you could get a Grill, Lockie Doveston, and a Harley Barker. So it's definitely up there. Mark said you love Bolter on the wing. Yeah, some people did say that at the end of the year. Maybe a way to rejuvenate him from the bad year he had this year. He will add muscle players as well, but he's also really nimble. Richo did it as well, but I don't think Richo was as sort of stocky and strong as what Bolter is. body-wise, but I like the idea. And then at the same time, you can just have Brown and Luke Trainer just swap with him as well on the wing. Maybe even a Josh Gipkus. It's a reach, but I do like the idea of going really out there. Yeah, so yeah, I do agree on the on that Essendon part. Whoever we don't take, the Bombers will probably sweep up. And judging by the looks of it, there's a chance they'll take Dyson Sharp, Cooper Duff, Tyler. I just don't see us taking Cooper Duff, Tyler. He's not a really need basis for us because we now got Sims, Armstrong, and Full. So just not really for us. I think, unfortunately, what Richmond will probably end up doing if we don't get the dream offer is more than likely it's going to be something like a Roby and a Grill, and that means Xavier Taylor, that really good defender, which is very Nick Flostone-esque, and we'll go to them as well. So, yeah, Tanner Armstrong, Daffy and Lays, yeah. And I think there's another academy player, NGA, just can't remember the name off by heart. Nah, there was love, just that the first team actually we put up had Hugo Rell-Smith. I just think people are still a little bit quite cold on Hugo Rell-Smith from this year. The year prior, 2024, was really well. Sorry, he did really well. But this year, it just seemed that he faded a bit too much and didn't pay attention to his player, as we saw in the Dreamtime game where the first gamer kicked 3 goals on him. Not blaming it all on him for the game, but if Hugo had been paying attention a little bit more, there's a chance we could have won that as well. Not that we needed to win the games, but it's just the idea. He, as a wingman, like McIntosh was, he just ran up and down and just chased his players and was always accountable for his player, not for his kicking. Got to see more Fawcett next year. I'd love to see more of him. The big tap, but I'm a bit worried that he's going too far behind now, just because of what we saw from Full, and Armstrong and Sims as well, considering Sims has the height to play as a ruck as well. Sorry, you mean as in the player to draft? Is if I was to draft a player in this year's draft, or do you mean as a wingman? Just put in the comments below so I can get that right before I say something wrong. So we go back to the teams for a bit quickly. Obviously, we can see the half forwards have stayed the same. Campbell, Full, Houghton. What was the other one? Then full forwards are Mansell, Lynch, Armstrong. To draft, dream scenario. As much as I want a grill, I really want Roby and Xavier Taylor. If we split picks and we gave up on Roby, I would be still going Xavier Taylor, Sam Grill, and a Lockie Doverston. Now, most people will tell me why you go Lockie Doverston. He's to me another version of Nick Watson, but he just kicks more goals. So in his draft rating for this year, he actually averaged 2 goals a game for the draft. Played really good in the grand final and in the prelim. But it's just, I just don't see us taking him just because he's not going to be there when we need him as well. Some people say we have too many small forwards. But I'm not sure on some of the small forwards we have now as the way they play. There's really one small forward that to me is that dynamic small forward that kicks goals and runs a lot, and that's Campbell, and that's about it. What do I like specifically about Roby? You look at his videos from his I know highlights, you all say highlights as highlights, but he had a growth spurt. He went from, pretty sure it was like 175, I think it was, or 177 to 192. But prior to that, he played as a small forward. And going off his videos, he looks like a player who has a big body but still plays as a small forward. When he tackles, he lowers his hips so that he can actually get around the player. He can't hit him high, and allows him to wrap and tackle at the same time. Uses his body quite well. Good mark. The fact that he can kick goals very easily. Grand final, he kicked 4 goals with a broken collar or the cracked collarbone. In the prelim final, he kicked 3, still had a cracked collarbone, and had 16 disposals each game. He had a game during the season where he had 40 touches and kicked 2 goals. It's the whole dual ability he has where he can play forward and midfield. Really excites me. He's got good tackle pressure, good sense. When he's the best part, I think, for me is when he goes forward, his IQ is quite high. If you actually watch him play, his leading patterns are very unusual for such a young player. But I think that's because of a small forward. He used to have to watch the big guys run, and he's actually learnt the patterns of what a tall forward does, and he's just now worked out how to mix it into what he is now. So it's an unusual jump, but I definitely think that for his jump and for what he is definitely a good fit. He's sort of another Sam Lawler, maybe not as dynamic, but he just has everything you want to kind of, in my opinion, to pair him with Sam Lawler. So 3-4 years time, you'll have in a center and half forward, you'll have Sam Lawler and Roby, and they'll just do a switch. And just it's just my opinion. If you guys agree or not, just let me know. Yeah, see, got a 1-2. Yeah, it's a 1-2 punch with Lawler. Look, I do agree on the pace, but the one thing I will say about Lawler and Roby is that once they get going, they're good. They've got that sort of what Dusty had was, he wasn't full of speed, but those first 5 to 10 steps, they were quite good steps. Roby is a bit more of a, once he gets going, he's going really good as well. So I'm definitely all for it. He did struggle with the combine. I did see the interview, but at the same time, he still had a cracked collarbone. So I'm just wondering, does that take that into account at all? Like, does having a bung shoulder still throw away how you run? Like when I run, I use a lot of my shoulders to get the momentum going. So I'm just wondering, was that a really bad thing, and he just maybe didn't realize how much it was actually affecting him with a bad shoulder? So. Yeah, and he's good on ground as well. Very good kick. Yeah, overhead mark. So pretty much what a Lawler is in my opinion on it. It's a good one. Where do I think is in? I'm going with Roby. I think he will be better off to be if you're with Sam, pairing him with Sam Lawler, like as like a 1-2 punch. I want to see Lawler 60% as a midfielder. 40% as half forward, and then it'd just be the exact same opposite. So Roby 60% forward, 40% midfield time. They're both just really good kicks, and they both really just excite me for what they bring to the table as well. So I am definitely all for the boys going that way as well. Maybe if you can even pair him with Houghton as well. So you got that bit. Oh, here we go. You bring up the guy I like. I'm big on Cumming. I really hate we're probably going to miss out on getting Sam Cumming. He's probably Roby, but 10%, a little bit less, just because he's not as stocky. In my opinion, he's not built as much. But the one thing I will say is that Cumming does have heart, and he's not afraid to get hit. When I did my play to draft, in the highlight package, he plays against the seniors in South Australia. There's multiple highlights where you see him get crunched. Sort of has a bit of Liam Baker about him. He gets hit hard and it doesn't affect him. He just gets up and goes again. So I really love that about him. Very good penetrating kick, very good overhead, and can go forward and kick goals very easily as well. So I will get to all these guys. I'm just slowly getting through. Not fast about the pace yet. Yeah, look, and we do have pace. That's the one thing sort of slightly does kind of bug me. We are slow, but is it just because the players aren't quite there? Look, you've got Seth Campbell. Steely Green is a very quick player. He's just got to break in. Morris Rioli, Taj Houghton. Jaden Short has quite a good pace. Sam Banks are all quite good on their speed as well. I think it's just more that it's because our midfield itself is really slow. Because you think of last year, who did we see in our midfield most of the time? Prestia, Hopper, and Taranto. That's it. And then when we did have, before Prestia was playing, it was Kane McAuliffe, and he actually has quite a good pace. So love to see Kane McAuliffe come back in and use his big body and big frame. He has that good 10-meter burst to get away from players as well. So look, and I think you are right there. I think Roby and Grill are going to be the two. I think that's what they'll take. The only way it doesn't end up being that is if there's some Godfather offer that, Melbourne is that desperate. They want Roby. They give up pick 7 and 8 for Roby. I'm like, we all can probably agree if a club reaches out and says, hey, look, we'll give you pick 7 and 8 for your pick 3 just because they want Roby and that's it. You can't say no to that. That's a pretty good deal. Maybe they go, oh, give us a future 4th pick later on or something like that. But it's hard to turn down. Not that I think D's should do that, because D's have a lot of issues in their team, and then they'd really just start to work that out now that I've just gutted the whole entire thing. Yeah, not as big on Farrow just because our stock in our backline is quite good. Philippou would be a great utility player. I think he'd be a good wingman to have as well. Wouldn't say no to it, considering how good he is. I'm pretty sure he's a triathlon runner, so very good runner. He had a bit of a down year, but he doesn't lacking confidence. And I reckon wouldn't be surprised if he ends up at Hawthorn, in my opinion. He'd just be that kind of player that we really love to have. So, yeah. And look, that can all change as well. Like I do agree there's a possibility with maybe in a few years' time when, Taranto and Hopper aren't as good as what they are. Maybe you do see a combination in the midfield at the same time at all times as Lawler and Roby and a Tash Houghton or a Seth Campbell or another small, speedy mid to help out there. That would be a good duo. They're both really good sidesteps, upper core strength. They both don't get tackled very easy. So, yeah, they did. I think they said at the end of the year that they wanted to start next year. They wanted to give Law some more midfield time as well. So, Cummings, yeah. Ooh. Yeah, he probably is the most well-rounded player. He doesn't seem to have too... I think the thing is he's not a superstar at every single thing. He's just really good at everything he does. My guess would be he goes to Essendon. My guess would be you'd have a Sam... Essendon would be silly not to take a Sam Cumming, Xavier Taylor, or a Cooper Duff Tyler. So that's definitely where I see what they'll be getting, because I don't think Richmond won't get... If we don't trade our pick, it's definitely Roby, in my opinion. So, yeah. You look, yeah, I do, and that's what I was just saying before. I think I do agree with you. Our mid's just too slow. We definitely have to find a way to work on our midfield being a lot faster. Is that this year injecting a bit of a Seth Campbell? I wouldn't go against even Ryan Mansell, predominantly just because both those boys have a bit of grunt and they'd love to tackle and get in players' faces. In players' faces. Oh, you could trade, yeah. Realistically, any team. Well, I get to pick 2, but we don't have pick 2 because ours is 3 and 4. But depending on how desperate the clubs are, like, let's be honest, if North Melbourne had been smart about the deal they did last year, now I know it's slightly off topic, but they wanted to trade pick 2. They had been asking people if they wanted pick 2. And I think what the talk was, Richmond was said, we'll give you pick 6. And it was like maybe it was the Sims or the Harry Armstrong pick. And they said, no, they wanted another pick in the top 15. In the end, they took their pick and they get that. But pick 2 is generally, you got to give up a lot in that top. In my opinion, top 5 is the one you got to give up a lot for. Anything in the top 5 is because you get choice at the best of the best. So, but does Richmond need the best available player, or do they need to pick? Are they going to pick just off need base, which is a good question for everyone to know. Are we drafting in this year's draft for a needs-based, not a best available. What North Melbourne's done for too long, I think it's just coming to bite them in the bum. Ooh, do you think Kupidoff and Sims will be paired together in the future? I just don't think Richmond will take Kupidoff Tyler. Like, I think, and I think West Coast would be, in my personal opinion, West Coast would be stupid to let him go. That's a need for them. Not is in the ruck style, but the forward style. I think they need someone who can play forward. Sorry. They'd be good to have him with Waterman. Waterman can teach him, give him a chance to grow into his body and play ruck. But I think that was my opinion. If Kupidoff slipped to Richmond, I don't know if Richmond says no to him just because of the potential. And him and Sims could be a great 1-2 punch where they play 50-50. They go forward, kick goals, then go to the ruck. Or they go to the bench straight away. So with that extra bench position, you can now play 2 rucks and allow 1 to rest, which is what we need to work out this for the next coming years for Sims. Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of people say that they believe that Sharp will be a Brownlow medalist. I think he'll be a future captain for sure, hands down. His high leadership quality. He was captain for I think it was South Australia under-18s. He won the best, I think it's Lark medal. I think it's what they call it. He is probably the best leader nearly out of the draft. So Brownlow, it's hard to predict because by now there's a lot of players we think should have won a Brownlow. Like Bontempelli should have definitely have one. But it definitely all changes. Yeah. When you mean Timmy, I'm sure you mean Timmy Taranto. I think they need to start that now. Like, we'll finish his career, play the forward once the young mids, yeah. But I think now what would be best for the club. Timmy Taranto's 27, so he's still in his prime, but we need to be able to get more midfield time than other players. And he kicks goals. Look at this year. It was after the bye. He ended up having a big stint where he kicked nearly 2 goals every game. He can kick goals, and he did it for the Giants really well. But he came to us for more midfield time. But so did Josh Caddy when we originally got Josh Caddy, and then he eventually worked out. I want to do what's best for the club and for us just to win. So I'm definitely all for convincing him to be able to spend 30-40% of his time midfield and in the forward, because he kicks goals and he's really good at it, and he seems to find them all the time as well. Ooh, do you think Roby's been overhyped? See a scenario where he will end up being traded and pick Roby away. Ooh. Look, I wouldn't say overhyped, because he actually didn't have a bad season. Like, I've actually did a review on him as well, and I actually jumped on to, it was a program that shows you all their games they played. So it was every game he played this year for under-18s, Rowville seniors. There's a couple other ones he played for as well, and he was in mostly every single game he played. He was in the best or was best on. So I think it's just because we didn't see him until Eastern Rangers, where the coach, I think it was the coach at Eastern Rangers, decided to put him in the midfield instead of just constantly playing him in the forward. And he really just exploded and showed you what he can actually do. And look, maybe he was always like this, but he was just never given the opportunity to go into the midfield. And someone finally gave him the opportunity to go, and he blew up. And look, I get the whole overhyped. You can also look at Richmond has done really well in getting players that have been told they're not good enough, and then they end up being really good players. So Kane Lambert was one as a proven point there that you can be overhyped and you can be completely ignored, and you can still be really good at what you do. So I just think if he was able to consistently do this for the whole year, and maybe this would be a saving grace for Richmond, maybe similar to Sam Lawler as well. If the Roby had done this from, say, day dot to now, he'd be a West Coast player. Like, he'd be the number 1 pick. That's what all the reports are, what other people are saying on their channels. And from what I can see, if this was consistent, we wouldn't be able to get him anyway. So he would be over there, similar to Houghton. If Houghton didn't do his ACL last year, he ain't going to be at Richmond this year. He wouldn't be at Richmond at all. So I definitely think not overhyped. I think Richmond fans would be annoyed if we didn't get him. I understand that, but the club is just going to do what's best, what they think is best for them. And I agree. We just trust Blair I think Blair's proven enough in the last few years that he knows what he's doing and he's doing what's best for the club. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, like with the offer. That's last year, that was, to me, was overs. I'm pretty sure it was pick 20 and pick 6. And they said no to it. It wasn't enough. They wanted, I think it was the pick 12 or whatever it was we got for Liam Baker, I think it was, or for Shea Bolton, but they said no, it wasn't enough. In the end, they get a first round pick so they could get a pick 28, I think it was, in the end. So in the end, they could have given up their pick 2. They could have got the player they wanted, the Viking, and then they could have still turned around and got their key forward or their key back that they wanted as well. And then this year, they'd be going in with pick 4 and be able to go after another key forward or a key back and be perfectly fine. And this year, and they're still trying to back in the draft. So I think they've shot themselves in the foot. Don't blame them for what they did. They tried. They're betting on themselves, which is what Richmond does. We're betting on ourselves to be better than we are. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out. And they've done the same thing they do every year. They just get the best midfielders, and that's it. And you can't build a team just based on midfielders. Richmond has done, I think, will now be the blueprint for every club going on who have to rebuild. You build upon 1 or 2 picks that are the best available, and then it's going off needs, not best available. So, that's it. There's 2 rucks for next year. Van Ruin, Van Hout. Oh, shivers in 27. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard with a ruck. I think if we're going to go for a ruck, if we can draft. I think there was a ruck in this year's draft. I haven't found his name. I wish we did not trade that pick. Well, we got pick 4, so I can't say no. But the player, he went to Saints. But Smith from Brisbane, I can't remember his name. But he plays as the reserve ruckman for Brisbane. I think he's 23, 24. We played him twice in the VFL. I remember watching the game, and he had 24 disposals, so 20 hit-outs and a couple of goals. So there's always good ruckman laying around. I just don't agree on paying $1 million a ruckman unless your name is Max Gawn. And I just don't think we're ever going to see another Max Gawn as a ruckman. So that's why I'm happy to pass on Cooper Tyler if he's there. But fairly confident he's going to West Coast. Yeah, but there's a lot of talk. There he was, widescreen. Henry Smith, thank you. And yeah, Dodson, yeah. Dodson did really well this year in the VFL as well. I'm pretty, if I was, it's a dumb thing to do, but if you are to say that West Coast was to say, we're taking Will Dersman, which seems to be the quite common pick. We're taking Dersman and that's it. And then going, we're going to take Dyson Sharp, then allows Cooper Duff, Tyler, and Roby Slide. I would be calling up Essendon saying, hey, if you don't want to trade now and give us a good deal, we're going to take Cooper Duff, Tyler, and Roby, and you don't get either. And then just see if they'll overpay for their pick, that one extra pick to slide up from 5 to 3, so they can get Cooper Duff, Tyler. They're pretty high, and they had him in their VFL program as well for a while. I'm definitely all for that. So that's a good analysing on Roby. What offer would you want to get rid of the pick? Whoa. To get rid of the pick 3, pick 3. It's hard. I would want at least a pick in the top 10, an extra 1, and maybe a pick in the between 10 and 15, so that if you lose Roby, then you can get yourself still get yourself your Grill, your Sam Cumming, and then afterwards maybe you go after a Lockie Doverston, Hibbins Hargrave, which would be a good one, a Harley Barker, which a lot of the Tiger fans are quite keen on. Maybe a Holmes as well. I know he wants to get to Geelong, but his ability to run is quite impressive. Then you could look at maybe another backman as a Farrow as well. And I can't remember. I've got his name written down somewhere. There's another Gold Coast Academy player, Bo Enelson, can't say, but he's a very good player from Gold Coast. Maybe you take a bid on him as well, because after the after the two players, Ezekiel and Patterson, they're going to have no picks until maybe into the 30s or late into the 40s. They'll chop most of their points just on those two players. So they'll lose pick 15, 18, and that will be those ones. That's just for the Ezekiel, and if he goes at pick 2. And then Patterson, they'll lose like 24, 25, 27, and maybe even 28. Yeah, I cannot pronounce that. That's probably the only problem. So, yeah, North went back into the draft. I just don't know who's going to give up. Only if North went back in the draft, if I'm North, I'm bringing up Hawthorn. Like, just does Hawthorn need to draft anything at all? If I'm them, I'm bringing up, hey, you pick 10, we'll give you a future first, which then Hawks probably use to go after Zach Butters next year. I know that's helping them, but if they're that keen to get back in the draft, you're going to have to give up a future first, and that's the only other way you're going to do it. Yeah, we do need some ruck depth to help out with Nank. Otherwise, we're going to have a Van all over again. I just don't think we have it right now at all. No one, and I think you've got a couple that we can pinch to help out. Sims is the only one, but I think he's 2 years away before his body can even handle enough to take away the stress. The only other way you can do it is no one's expecting Richmond to win games. Is it best if Richmond then just a couple of games away, so a back-to-back of the games where you're traveling interstate twice in a row, he doesn't go on both of them. He just misses one. So instead of playing 20-plus games, he plays 17, and that's the only way you work it out. And you're going to lose those games, which we know. I think against the Dreamtime, we had Nate playing, we probably won that game. But, look, that's just unfortunately how it is. So, Adelson, yeah, is the kid. He's like Bailey Humphries, if you want a similar. Yeah, okay. I like that. That's a good one. Yeah, I would say no to Bailey Humphries, even 75% of Bailey Humphries. So that's the thing. Gold Coast is going to lose a couple of players through the bidding system because they're just not going to have the points for it. I don't think they're going to care just because of what they picked up on the off-season. They'll still get the top 2 players. I mean, they're going to have to enjoy that system now because next year there's no discounts at all. And as I recall, the rule was if the player is bidded at pick, say, 7, you need to have a pick within the next 2. And then you got to have another pick within the next 5 or so close to those other numbers. Otherwise, you don't get them. So I just got a question there. Sorry, not that one. What do you think will happen to Sonsi and Dow? They've been, from what I've heard, they've been told to wait until pretty much the draft. It's hard to say. There's a chance. I haven't looked at the list numbers that we have, so I'm not 100% sure if there's a chance to give him a contract. If I had to pick one, it's Dow. Just don't think Sonsi showed enough as much as I like him. I just think Dow is more utility player than Sonsi is. Not Sonsi's fault. I just think he came into the team at the wrong time and was never given the proper opportunity to be a proper forward. But then it goes to show you that it's hard these days. You need to be a dual player. Like Lawler and say a Roby are great because they can play mid and forward. Some players can play like a Grill. He can play a half-back and a forward and a middle. Where Dow can play forward, he can play in the middle, he can play outside mid, and he can play wing. Where Sonsi really can't play half forward. They tried him in the wing, he wasn't the greatest. He probably can't carry off half back. He just hasn't got that two-way running, and I just definitely don't see Sonsi in the middle. There's too much talent above him. So, and there's a chance they both just get delisted, or they get delisted and then they rookie draft them just to give them a cheaper deal and give them another chance as well. So. There you go. Yeah, it's just why I picked out that Bow was just because he was a bit smaller and he would have the possibility of being able to play wing as well. So I've got another video coming out soon. So we got everyone knows about pick 3 and 4. So I thought, well, what about pick 38? No one seems to know anything about pick 38 and what are players are going to be out there. So I thought I'll make a video of I picked like 3 players. A couple of names, a couple of informations about them and their position. And I thought, can these players be there at pick 38? And would we take them as well? So definitely keen on that. Do you think Max Gorn? Oh, don't even dare. Oh, okay, I'll read it out, but I think you're in trouble there, mate. Do you think Mason Cox for ruck depth? I like the idea of him playing 15, 20 games over the next 2 years. Yeah. I'm just not sure. Like, if it's cheap, I'm really not against it. He honestly couldn't do any worse than Samson Ryan right now. Unless the snack pack starts to show up quite well, I'll be keen on that as well. But that's a 50-50 for me. I'm not sure. In the terms of draft next year for first rounds, it seems to be 2 first-round picks to match for bids. Yeah, it's not just it can't be just for your first round. I've done it with Tim, who jumps on my channel quite often. We've actually looked into it, had a chat about it as well off air. It's got to be within a certain number of picks as well. So it can't be the player I pick 5, my pick is pick 10, and then I got another pick 17. It's got to be a lot closer to that. I think it's within like 4 or 5 picks. So if it's pick 10, you've got to be between 13 and 14. And the pick after that, it has to be 3-4 rows away as well. So Carlton are going to struggle next year to get Cody Walker as well. So hopefully maybe Tanner Armstrong doesn't have a giant season and blow up to sell himself even higher, which makes it harder. But Richmond's quite lucky because we're probably going to have a top 5 pick again anyway, and there's an opportunity there to just get in with our pick anyway if we don't want to risk it. I think Prestia might not play as much as next year. I think they should have had that conversation with him, is that you're not guaranteed to play that many games. I think he should get no more than 12 games into him. I think he should get about a half a season. Maybe you give him the back half if he starts off a bit injured. But I think he needs to play only home games, either only home games or interstate games. But he's got to be one or the other. He's more of an on-field coach, but you just need to get more games into a Kane McCall, or Josh Smiley, Sam Lawler, and then obviously whoever we do decide to draft in this year's draft or pick up in any other way or show any other signs. Like, that's the thing. We're going off what we know for the teams we've picked. For all we know, Rechko could be the wing player straight away. He could be the next McIntosh for us as well. So do you see us trading up our 3rd pick? Ooh, someone slides like that. We just don't have anything. I think that's the only problem, is we just don't have anything else to offer. Like, if we had pick, was it 30? 38. By the time you take into account the Harry Dean offer, Patterson, Hewlin, and Annabelle, by the time they all go in there, and you could have a couple in between as well. It goes to 34. It's just hard. What do you give up? Like, if you're happy to give up like a future 2027 4th-round pick, so you can go from 34 to 27 and pick up a Harley Barker, then yes, like all over that, or Hibbins Hargrave, a Philippou. That happens, yeah, I'll give up a 2 years from now, 2027 4th-round pick. That's going to allow me to slide up 5 picks, or 6 or 7, even 10, to get him. I'm definitely all keen on that. Do you think the 2026 draft will be like trading with clubs like Carlton, so they can get their father and son? The problem is Richmond want Cody Walker. That's the only problem. He is one of our NGA players. So that's the other NGA other player instead of Tanner Armstrong was Cody Walker. So I don't think they're going to help Carlton. I don't think Carlton and Richmond have a great trading history since the Chris Allen debacle. Not saying that was Carlton's fault or Richmond's fault. It was just a lot was hidden behind it all. I'm just not sure if you're going to want to help them, especially if you've got pick 2. Like, at pick 2, you should just be getting the best player, and if they can't work a way around it, it's on them. Look, and the best thing you could say is yes, if you're that desperate, because they own. So they now have 6 future first-round picks because they've got all of the Swans' first-round picks. So if they're willing to pay up and the deal is a Godfather deal, then yeah, I would. You can't say no, can you? Really? Oh, true. That's how. I forgot about Rechko. Yeah, I more than likely for the wing spot, yes. I just don't see Luke Train as a winger. It's just not who he is. He's not what we drafted him for and why he was such a good under-18s player as well. So my guess for the wings will be a Hugo Ralph-Smith and a Rechko. Hopefully I'm saying that right, but it could definitely possibly go that way. It's hard to say. Like, we don't really explore much with our wings, and for all we know, we could have a really good wing player sitting there. We just haven't done anything with us as well. So, just put widescreens up. What was that one? Is it more just like a general sense, even if it's then I get the idea, general sense of the trade to help them as long as it benefits us. So if you could turn around and say, look, we'll give you pick 2 so you can just snare Cody Walker straight up. You need to give us 3 first-round picks. And they can all be the Swans picks. Like, you could say, give us this year's pick and then 2 of the Swans picks. I just don't think Richmond would say no to that. But the problem is 2027 draft is really compromised considering it's going to be the year of when Tassie comes in. So is the deal, is 2027 draft picks really worth much considering that's a compromised year? Cody Walker is a generational player. Yeah, next year he'll click. Yeah, I think from what do you call it? Tim was saying to me the last time I did a video with him, he was saying that the next year's 2026 draft could be better than the 2024 draft. So if I am Richmond, now look, Cody Walker, from what I remember and have heard, Cody Walker hasn't officially put the paperwork in to be a Carlton player. Like what Morris Rioli Jr. did, he put his request in because he can't do it until next year anyway. He's just known that he wants to go to Carlton. So if they can see the writing on the walls that Carlton has another season like this year and the club's still in debacle and they haven't sorted their shit out, Cody Walker can just turn around and go, hey, look, I want to be a Richmond player. I'm going to nominate Richmond as an NGA player. I'm going to go to Richmond because he had an interview and he said that he wished that Carlton was more like Richmond. And unfortunately, that's just how it is. He wants to be where his dad is and his dad played, which is fair enough. I'm all for the father and son. I think the one thing that shouldn't be touched is father and son. I think it's a great thing to have. I would have loved to, if my father had ever played AFL and played for a club, I would love to play for where my dad played for. So I definitely agree. But at the same time, is it time for the clubs just to make people pay? Because last year, or 2 years now, Brisbane's got away with getting all the Ashcroft boys and getting them cheaper than what they thought they were going to get them for. So this year, I think you'll see clubs like West Coast and Richmond and Essendon just make Gold Coast pay up for every single player they've got because their players are good. And if you get them, you've got to get a good player anyway. So Hawks, yeah, I don't know where Bolter plays, but the interview at the end of the season from Ooze was that he's a backman and that's where they want to play him. So I think he's a better defender than he is a forward. He can go forward if we need him to. That's probably the best thing about him, the versatility. Because he's an athletic, powerful, and a speedy big boy. I would prefer him to be a backman. Him and Ben Miller would make a really good 1-2 punch. Just because Miller has a higher IQ, better kicking skills, but Bolter has that more raw talent as well. So look, it's up in the air with Bolter, unfortunately. So hopefully we see next year he just becomes back to what he was previously than what he was this year. So could we try? Yeah, you could. Like, you could definitely try the Bolter, Miller, and Gibcus because they're all different players. Like, see where Ben Miller is that bigger defender that plays the one-on-one with a slower player. Sorry, where Noel Bolter can play on a stronger, more athletic player, where he can still outpower him. So trying to think of like a Jeremy Cameron, where he's probably better to play on a Jeremy Cameron than Ben Miller is because Jeremy Cameron's a lot more mobile. He gets around the ground a lot easier. He can turn a lot faster. Miller's a really good one-on-one player as like a Tom Hawkins, big, sturdy player, where Gibcus is that third defender, like a James Sicily, agile, nimble, ridiculously good leap and really good hands, and a leap kick as well. Probably the best kick out of all three of them as well. So, yeah, it is definitely a position that you could do it. I just think is Ben Brown better to be in that position or a Luke Trainer? Just not quite sure that Gibcus's body is ready. I would love to see him get a couple more games in the VFL. I know they gave him the taste last year of the seniors. His preseason comes up great. I can share a fact about Taj. Taj Houghton, go ahead. Send it away. His brother's playing for a VFL team, so I saw that the other day. That was really exciting. We could have both the Houghtons buddy playing for us as well. So go ahead, mate. Send me a fact and we'll have a little look and see what it is. I'm all keen for some facts. Send them through. Even questions. Sorry. My voice is breaking. It's like a little kid then. He went to the same primary school. Oh, there you go. Didn't know that. Don't know where he went to primary school, but I know I think he's Metro boy, isn't he? So, all right. It's a cool fact, but that's a good one. I know he's got an older brother and a younger brother. Is his younger brother good at football? I know it wouldn't be surprised me if all body three of them were. But I know Ollie, I think his older brother's name, was a really good football player for St Kilda. Just couldn't get his body right through injuries, and he has an opportunity at the Richmond VFL. I saw the Big Talker Footy Cast had that discussion, I think it was today or yesterday, about saying that they're going to say if he gets his body right and he seems good, he definitely has an opportunity to be maybe a mid-season draft. Not sure his name is it Kai? Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. I learned something every day. All right, guys, that will be it for this episode. Probably dragged on a bit more than I thought. I did say it would only be a 30-minute one about the team, but I'm all happy for it to go a little bit longer with the questions and all that sort of stuff. It's just a bit of conversation. If you guys want to leave in the comments section below after the video goes quiet, if you guys want me to do a Q&A where everybody can just shoot me questions and we can have a conversation about it, I'm definitely keen for it. Just let me know if you guys are. I'm on board for doing a Q&A. Maybe we can get Michaels to jump on or somebody else to jump on who can answer some questions as well. Hopefully soon. Thinking it might be Thursday night, still working on the information, but trying to get Pommy and Oz on to do a little, maybe just a top 10, top 15 draft ranking to see where he has players going and where I have players as well. Probably more just getting Pommy's view on what he thinks for this year's draft. But it's just, I want the idea of getting multiple people's opinions. So we'll do another one eventually. I'll do one with Pommy, and maybe I can get Michael on for his top 15. I think I got Tim lined up soon to do a full first round draft, just because he's got a lot more information on the draft as well, where we're going to do a full where we think a player is going to go and what position, like as in the club, the pick, as well as take into account the bidding system. So when you bid for Zeke Ewan, I'll work the math out through Zero Hanger has all the points. Just got to work it out, take the 10% off. You lose pick 15, 18. So it means everybody else picks slide forward. So I'll do that as well coming up. I want to do a live stream for the draft. Problem is that so many people do live streams for drafts. It's very hard to jump on because you'll have Michael with his big cast on there doing it. Pommy would do it as well. And a bunch of other boys would do it as well. So I'll work on it. If I do it, I might just jump on with one of my cousins and we'll just have a little chat as well while we're doing it. So, all right, guys, thank you for tonight. I really do appreciate it, as always. Slowly getting there towards 500 subscribers. It's really ticking along better than I thought, so I do appreciate it. Before I let you go, this was that one there is going to come up now. This is what my thumbnail was meant to look like. For some reason, it's come up really blurry, but I did put a lot of effort into my thumbnail. For some reason, it's come up really blurry, but I'm trying to improve my thumbnail so it shows a bit more interest for you guys. So, all right, guys, that's it for this episode. Thank you again. Comment and like below. Subscribe, even share it for some friends if they are any Tiger fans as well. Stay safe and go Tigers.